Bamla, can you hear me? David La?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, Geshe has already arrived. We can start the session.
Great.
Right, David La. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ben La, David La, Shahala, and all the persons here, and offline, online both. So now we are reading verse number 2, David La. Okay, so thus far, what we learned is that the saying everyone has the feelings, sadness, fear, happiness, joys, excitement, and so forth. We all have these different experiences. And keep in mind that these are all mental states. And the wise people will see all these experiences in the form of a mental state. And the unwise people will see everything as external, purely external. And the mind is just like the partaker. Partaker, or the one who the one which experiences these, but what we experience, they're all outside. And outside, in reality, they are like stimulus. They are like the triggers. And what actually happens, we talk about the 5 omnipresent mental factors. So these stimulus, you come in contact with the stimulus number 1, then we pay attention to the stimulus number 2, and paying attention, we become to know that yes, this is good, this is bad, and so forth. That is the discrimination or recognition. And then number 4 is the feeling that, oh, this is bad, feeling is unpleasant, or this is good, feeling is pleasant, unpleasant feeling comes. And then the mind reacts accordingly. If the feeling is pleasant, the mind embraces. If the feeling is unpleasant, mind rejects. So when we feel sad or fear, our mind is rejecting it. Mind is rejecting it. So now, from this symbol, of course, it looks simple, but it's very profound. From this, the exposition of this psychology, how the mind works on the basis of these 5 omnipresent mental factors, we see that what we're seeking is on that level. We want to embrace everything. I want this, this is so beautiful, this is nice. Embrace everything, not rejection. There's unease happening, stress happening. And but embrace or reject. What decides? The feeling decides. If the feeling that you get is pleasant feeling, then you embrace. If the feeling is unpleasant, you reject. And rejecting bad things, this is good. Rejecting good things, this is bad. Rejecting happiness is bad. So they say we have to embrace the happiness, but happiness, wise happiness, intelligible happiness. So on the thing is that what we're seeking is the fearlessness and infinite happiness, and our mind has that capacity in the form of the mental factor of the intention to embrace everything without any rejection. There's a fearlessness and infinite happiness. rejecting everything, that is a total fear and with no happiness, full of stress. So this is in the form of a resultant state. Now, the resultant states is because of the causal state. Causal state. So what are the causes? Within the mind, we see that there are two sets. One is the resultant states and what the causal states. Resultant state of miseries, resultant states of happiness. And what gives rise to the miseries? There's a set of mental states known as the causal mental states. These are known as non-virtuous minds. And there is the positive or the desirable resultant states in the form of peace, happiness, expansive happiness, fearlessness, so forth. So they're given rise to by another set of the minds. So we see that on the causal states, there are two sets of mind. One is the what gives rise to miseries. They are known as the non-virtues. There's no what is known as the intrinsic non-virtue or intrinsic virtue. Is by dependent origination. We see that there's a set of mental states which give rise to miseries. These are known as non-virtues, and there's a set of the mental states which give rise to happiness. These are the causal, the states of the virtues, or the causal states for the happiness. So now what we do is that we need to tackle a mind. Is simply learn how to tackle a mind. And the Buddha taught that the Buddha summarized all the teachings of the Buddha in just one verse. Commit no evils. Accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. Tame your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So here, commit no evils, because we don't want miseries. Don't engage in evil actions. Commit no evils. Engaging in evil actions will give rise to miseries. Ye dharma hetu prabhava. All these phenomena arise from the causes. So engaging in evil actions will give rise to miseries. If you want happiness, embrace virtues. Accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. And this tame your mind. How to do that? How to stay away from miseries and how to embrace the maximum happiness. How to do that? This is by okay. Okay. David, what happened?
Sorry, I'll fix it in a moment, Geshe.
Okay, no, don't worry. Okay, so with this, they say the how not to engage in evil actions and how to engage in the virtues. How to do that? This is a question. So it's not that easy. Simple say, okay, from today onwards, I'll not do any non-virtues. From today on, I'll do all virtues. When it actually comes, again, the same thing, what happens? Again, your mind is operating. The moment you encounter with the set of situations, like somebody talking bad thing about you, instantly the unpleasant feeling arises. The moment the unpleasant feeling arises, then the mind and the intention will reject that. So that is in the form of disliking, rejecting the trigger, because the other person talking the unnice about you. So likewise, so this is how, say, the mind behaves with that particular set of mechanism. So now our job is, okay, good, thank you. Same. So our job is so the Buddha taught that they commit no evils and accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible and tame your mind. So here the third line says, subdue your mind thoroughly or tame your mind. So how to do that? How to stop engaging in non-virtues and how to engage in virtues is by taming your mind. How to tame the mind? This is extremely important. It's not that easy. Taming the mind, as they say, for example, like anger or like say the craving and so forth, how to control them. For this, we need to introduce a counterforce. What is the counterforce like? Say, depending on depending on that undesirable mental states. For example, anger, how effective, how fast, how intense, how strong, and how so spontaneous. The remedy as well should be very spontaneous, fast, and intense. So what is that remedy? Which is very fast. This will happen only on the level of the what we call as the wisdom drive-through meditation. And to reach that level of wisdom drive-through meditation, again, it's not that, okay, from tomorrow I'll have wisdom drive-through meditation. It must come about by depending on the respective courses. What are the courses? The preceding wisdom drive-through reflection, contemplating as to how engaging in non-virtues give rise to miseries, how engaging in virtues give rise to happiness by contemplating on these points. And to contemplate, we need to have the materials to contemplate on. And the mind which gathers the materials, this is known as wisdom drive-through studies or wisdom drive-through learning. So we need to have the wisdom drive-through learning, wisdom drive-through reflection, wisdom drive-through meditation to tame our mind. So this is the teaching of the Buddha. Okay, David, now going back to the text. So what we read here, verse 1, is that verse 1, now that you have obtained this precious human birth, a great boat so difficult to find, in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of samsara, listening, meaning learning, reflecting, and meditating with diligence day and night is the practice of a bodhisattva. So what we read from the passage which the Buddha's theme taught of the summary of the Buddha's teachings, commit no evils, accumulate as great will the virtues as possible, tame your mind. So this tame your mind, meaning listening, reflecting, and meditating, taming the mind by these three means. With diligence, day and night is a practice of a bodhisattva. If this is what we are doing, you are actually following the bodhisattva path. So continue studying, reflecting, meditating with diligence. Continue. It's not that you have to spend like 14 hours a day or 20 hours a day or 10 hours a day, not necessary, but be continuous, be consistent with your studies, reflection, meditation, whether you're working as an employer, as an employee, or as your personal business or office work or whatever you're doing. So meanwhile, to make sure that study, reflection, meditation, there's growth happening within us, growth in your removing the mental defilements, like the negative forces, and to enrich the positive forces within us so that the fears will diminish and your misery, your happiness will expand. So this is the whole purpose. If this is what you're doing by contemplating on how you lead your life, one day, if you see that one day involves some degree of study, reflection, meditation towards this end, then we are actually using our life productively. The next, now to study, reflect, and meditate. What involves study? When you have the proper studies, will then give you proper materials to reflect on. With the proper materials to reflect on, you reflect. Through reflecting, then it becomes, you gain conviction. Once you gain conviction, then meditate or familiarize in this conviction that you've gained with the proper knowledge that you've obtained from your listening or studies. And this will bring about a transformation within us. So there is a basic, how the Buddhist study, the Buddhist practice works, is that they say, finally, when say the anger, there's the tendency for the anger, so keeping your mind calm, not acting the aggressively. So this involves a mental factor of the intention. And so the actual movement of the mind happens. This is affective mental states movement. And this affective mental states is driven by the discrimination, which is cognitive. So it is by the Buddhist teachings, particularly the one we inherited from Nalanda tradition, is to bring about cognitive transformation, cognitive change to bring about affective change. So this affective change will make your mind, the affective element of mind, as very composed, calm, peaceful, fearlessness, full of joy. The presence of you makes other people feel so comfortable, so relaxed. So this is how it happens. So with this in mind, the say cognitively, we have to see what are the errors, how the mind works in a destructive way. And what we said is that, say, the two resultant mental states, the happiness and the miseries, happiness which want to multiply, and the miseries which want to get it off. So this we think of the causal mental states. Causal. What are the causal mental states giving rise to the miseries? So here, number 2, it says passion. And the Adi Nagarjuna, in his text, Ratnamala, the precious garland, the ceasing of karma's afflictions is nirvana. Karma's afflictions arise from the conceptualization of inappropriate attention, which in turn arises from the elaboration of self-grasping ignorance, and the elaboration ceases through the wisdom of emptiness. So here we see that Arya Nagarjuna identified the 5 points. Ceasing karma's afflictions is nirvana. Observe, nirvana is samsara, number 1. And the samsara is the resultant state, the pains that we go through, the resultant state, obvious resultant state, which we feel averse to, samsara. And this samsara is because of the cause. It's not randomly that somebody suffers, somebody is experiencing nirvana. No, it depends on what kind of cause you embrace. So samsara, we experience samsara because of its immediate cause, which is karma, contaminated karmas. And the contaminated karmas, so now we are talking about the causal states. Resultant state is samsara, the causal states, the karma, and the karmas triggered by the karma, meaning contaminated karmas. Karma, there are 2. Contaminated karmas and the uncontaminated karmas. Uncontaminated karmas will take you to nirvana and Buddhahood. Contaminated karmas will bind us in samsara. So the contaminated karmas, the actions that we do, and then they say that, oh, I want to stop all the non-virtuous actions. But the moment the situation happens, the actions involuntarily happen, the moves, actions they get manifested. So what do you do? I don't know what's happening. So involuntarily actions happen. So we have to check what is the cause of the actions. Cause of the actions, Arya Nagarjuna identified them as the afflictions. Season of karmas and afflictions. Afflictions. As for example, say, I'm looking like this, and then you are wondering what is he looking for. And finally, I grab the glass of water. And then you may think that, okay, so that he must be feeling thirsty. So what made you feel that I am feeling thirsty or I'm looking for water? What makes you to feel that? Because I'm not telling you that I'm thirsty. I'm not telling you that I want to drink water. But from my gesture, action, karma, act of looking for something and finally grabbing the glass of water. So this action is driven by the cause. So you infer the cause. Cause is which drove me for the glass of water. So that in negative sense, that drive to bring something closer to you is known as attachment. Affliction, a part of which is attachment, involuntary, the grabbing at the object. And then say somebody gives me the apple juice, and then I push it. You say, okay, he does not like the apple juice. He has aversion to apple juice. So there's involuntary push happens. So these drives, involuntary pull, involuntary push mentally, these will manifest in the form of physical, verbal, and mental actions, activities. So karmas, contaminant karmas, they're driven by the afflictions. And afflictions, broadly speaking, we see that there are three classes. One is affliction in the first place. Affliction is defined as the mental state or the mental factor, presence of which disturbs the mind. Affliction is defined as a mental state or mental factor, presence of which disturbs our mind. So this affliction is of three kinds. One, in all cases, disturbs. We don't want to be disturbed, but we will disturbed by these afflictions, which means that there's the involuntary movement happening. Involuntary movement. Affliction has a connotation of involuntariness. So involuntary pull is known as attachment, and involuntary push is known as aversion. Then what? If this involuntary pull and push is determined by the feeling. Pleasant feeling, involuntary pull happens. Unpleasant feeling, involuntary push happens. What if the feeling is neutral? Then it's the neutral action. So neutral action, that neutral action with respect to ignorance is known as the misperception or the flow of the ignorance. Same, involuntary pull, attachment. Let's put it like this. Say pleasant feeling, contaminated pleasant feeling, involuntary pull happens. That is attachment. Then in the contaminated, the unpleasant feeling arises. Involuntary push happens. That is aversion. Then if the feeling is neutral, then the ignorance continues. Okay, some of you may be wondering, why? If the feeling is neutral, ignorance should continue. Why? So just imagine that you are in dream. You are in sleep, you are dreaming, and in the dream, you have a very pleasant feeling, and a involuntary pull happens. Very unpleasant feeling happens, involuntary push happens. Whereas if the feeling is the normal, neutral, then the mind is not pulled or pushed. But you still see the dream as real. So that is contamination, that is ignorance. So ignorance ensues. Ignorance continues, but the ignorance underscores all three: involuntary push, involuntary pull, and the neutral feeling. In all three cases, ignorance is there. But with the involuntary pull, then the ignorance is on top of the ignorance, the involuntary push, aversion is added. Then on top of the ignorance, when the pleasant feeling is there, the attachment is added. When it's a neutral feeling, nothing is added, so it just remains as ignorance. So this is known as with the neutral feeling, where you have not realized emptiness, then the ignorance continues to see things as, see things object real, which is not in the form of involuntary pull, no involuntary push. That is known as ignorance, the flow of the ignorance with the neutral feeling. So we see that our mind, in terms of the causal factor, we see that there are three aspects: either involuntary pull, involuntary, which is attachment, involuntary push, aversion, and then finally the ignorance. These three flow through our mind, and these three will decide what kind of karmas we accumulate. So the first one here, reading verse number 2, passion or the desire or attachment towards friends turns like water. So if you let flow the water, what happens? Water on the paper, it just seeps through. In the sand, it seeps through. And if you put the water somewhere on the higher land, it just flows down. So you don't do anything, it just flows like oil. Just put a drop of oil on the paper, that the oil just seeps through the paper. So this is how the attachment, affects the mind. Passion towards friends churns like water. Then hatred towards enemies burns like fire. For example, say when the hatred or the aversion, the first one is involuntary pull. The second one is involuntary push, hatred or aversion. Aversion towards enemies burns like fire. It burns us. Through the darkness of ignorance, one forgets what to adopt and what to reject. And the first one, a passion towards friends, churns like water, the passion or the desire, attachment. So I'll say that's how it pulls a mind, and it is if it is on what we call as a normal degree, then we said, oh, I like it. But when it comes to a very high degree of intensity, it really is so painful. For example, like say you want something as not happening, and you're not happening, that desire is not accomplished, then the feeling of the pain is extremely strong. It just, you're being fooled by this desire. We are being driven by the desire. So, and the hatred, yes, the anger. Anger really burns us alive. When there's no anger, if somebody says, do you like to become angry? You will say, no, 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 no. But when you're in the grip of the anger, then you can do anything which otherwise you will not do. And through the darkness of ignorance, number three is the ignorance. Through the darkness of ignorance, one forgets what to adopt and what to reject. And the ignorance, we need to remember there are two kinds of ignorance explained, and two kinds of ignorance actually happening. One is the distortion of the reality. Distortion of the reality. For example, nothing exists objectively, but our mind views things as objective, real. That the dream does not exist as real, but we see the dream as real. That's a distortion of reality. Number two is the blurriness of the reality, blurriness of the mind. The blurriness, the fogginess of the mind is also ignorance. One is the distortion of the reality, there's also ignorance. So ignorance can be understood in these two connotations. We have to, and these two both the kinds of ignorance exist within us. And these two kinds of ignorance are so beautifully explained by Arya Sangha and Acharya Vasubandhu, two brothers. Arya Sangha described the ignorance as the blurriness and the fogginess of the mind. And yes, we have to know that. And this is what happens when the fogginess of the mind happens, then we can distort the reality. And the second one, distortion of the reality, that nothing exists objectively, but our mind distorts the reality as objectively real. That is explained by the younger brother, Acharya Vasubandhu. Okay. So to abandon through darkness of ignorance, one forgets what to adopt and what to reject. So when these three things happen most predominantly, most obviously, when these three things happen, when you are in your place which you are very familiar with, your homeland. So therefore, in homeland, you are, okay, this person very nasty, this person very good, I like this, I like that. And then they say, people also, they know you so well, they dislike you, they like you. And sometimes when you read into Dharma, then people say, what are you doing? You are so boring. You know, why don't you come for a drink? You know, come for a family gathering, or come to a friend's gathering, and friends gathering what? Drinking and then gossiping. And then, you know, talking talking bad things about other people. So nothing productive, only extremely the poisonous. So the abandon one's homeland is a practice of Bodhisattva. To abandon homeland doesn't mean that you have to leave the place and then go somewhere. No, the connotation is what is demerit of the homeland, but identify that was demerit. So just try to cut off these factors which are commonly happening in the homeland. Although you are in your homeland, but knowing what are the demerits of being in the homeland, cut those demeritorious factors of being in the homeland, cut those, and create your own, say, the foreign land in your own homeland. This is so important, so important. And at times, to be very honest, if you discard the demeritorious, the factors or non-conducive factors which otherwise would be created by the homeland, if you discard these things, by being in homeland, there are many people who you can help, because there are many people, you know them so well, they trust you, and you can actually help them very effectively, provided that the warnings given here must be taken seriously, that the factors which can actually mitigate the power of Dhamma practice, these factors, if you can get it off, then you can create a very conducive Dhamma environment while you're still in your homeland. So to abandon one's homeland is to abandon the non-meritorious or demeritorious the factors of being in homeland should be eradicated. That's the practice of Bodhisattva. Number three, And whereas in some cases, you literally move to another place and where your dharma progresses. Yes, of course, then in this case, we can take this as literally. But for many of us, we cannot really leave our place. And in some places, even to leave your own house and try to get another house, even that is so expensive, is an extremely tedious work. These are not practically what you can do. So where you cannot do that, why this advice is given is because there are some demerits, non-conducive, the factors which hamper our dharma practice, identify them, get rid of them, the purpose of abandoning the homeland is fulfilled. Number 3, giving up in hospital places. Okay, so now say within your own place, wherever you are, we see that there are different places. Some places where some predominantly places where there are good people. Good people meaning who are like-minded in terms of following the Dharma practice, Dharma studies, Dharma reflection, Dharma meditation. These are the good environment. And also, for example, we go for pilgrimage. Why pilgrimage is considered very important? Because that the places where the Dharma practitioners, particularly more advanced Dharma practitioners, they dwell in a particular place. These places, they are blessed. They're blessed doesn't mean that they get some vibration. No, this is not a connotation. This is something that I usually earlier when I was in my younger days, I didn't really believe in such things. There's something place can be blessed by enlightened beings. So I had I had like 2 or 3 life experiences which gave me very powerful feeling that this is real, that the place can be blessed by the enlightened beings. So what happened was that there was in 2000, end of 2003, when I was in Cambridge, and then I went to London to meet when I was in school, I was being supported by one lady in England. And now if she survives, she's no more with us now. If she's alive today, she is 106 years old. And we never met. So after like 35 years meaning that when I was a little boy, age 5, is the 8, 9, 10, she used to support me. And then when I was in my 30s, finally when I was in Cambridge, I showed the interest to meet her. So I could connect with her. And then we met, and then she offered me to stay in a place for 3 days. So she put me in one small room. And believe it or not, from all these many years of sleeping every day, those 3 nights, they were the most ecstatic sleep. So pleasant sleep, extremely pleasant sleep. And on the 3rd day, I told her that I'm just wondering, I had the best sleep the last 3 nights in your place. And she said that I'm not surprised. I said, why? And she said that the bed on which you slept, I used that bed for healing people the last 30 years. The bed on which I have been treating people, healing. She was a healer. I'm healing people for 30 years. So that was a fact. Then I realized, wow, I did not believe in these things, but it's real. So likewise in Dharamsala, many years ago, it was, nowadays it's slightly different. Many years ago, above the school where I was brought up, above the school, there was the place of hermitages, for the hermits. It's very serene forest. And it's not just me. Anybody who goes there those days, not today. Today is a little crowded already. Many people already came in there. Even the number of the hermits also increased, and it has become little different place now. In those days, anybody who just gets into this place, they could feel some serenity there, calmness, mental ease. This is something so unique. Perhaps it was like 30, 40, almost like 35, 36 years ago. Now it's very different. Now we cannot get this feeling. In fact, it was not only me, and many people narrated, shared the same experience that just getting in this forest, they could feel the ease, some kind of sanctity. You could feel it. Okay. So giving number three, verse number three, giving up inhospitable places, wrong places. If you give up these places or if you stay away from these places, your mental afflictions gradually decrease. Say, being with some people or some, I would say that the places are there, but more importantly, the people. Directly is the people. With some people, say the desire to practice Dharma diminish. They'll talk about money. They'll talk about, everything, only think about the money and the pleasure and youth, only about these things. They never talk or think about dharma, think about compassion, think about studying. No, the mindset is very different and you can be affected so badly. In fact, again, it was my experience, several experiences. One, when I was just 20 or 21, I was in Nepal, and there I was in a place where the whole environment is all about some way, somehow. I could not really say the mind doesn't really go. I have to drag my mind from going naturally, so disturbed, to say the Dharma. And now, what happened? So, because that I was in that area, the people, who have no idea about Dharma. It was only about money, business, only about these things. So that I could see that my mind became so foggy, and even the daily practice that I was doing, I had to struggle. I had to struggle, and with the same effort, the productivity was missing. This was one experience. And so therefore where in the wrong place, your mind really becomes foggy, particularly with the people. And with some people, just stay there, you see that your mind is so disturbed. So if that happens, if there is a way by which you can really stay away, stay away. Okay. And whereas with some people, say each one of us, you may be 60s, 70s, 80s, or the 20, 30, 40, it doesn't matter. Just think of your own life. Okay, the last 5 years, the last 10 years, the last 1 year, same, there's a shift in your life, shift in your lifestyle, I should say. Shift in lifestyle, you go for some holiday, or you have some business trip, or you have some dharma, the guys holiday, dharma, and dharma time for yourself, 1 week or 5 days, and then with one particular person, 2 persons, 3 persons, whatever, and there's a shift happening. So where your Dhamma practice, study, they become so easy, naturally evolving, and it becoming more creative, your mind becomes more active into Dharma, the desire to practice Dhamma more. If this is happening, you are in the right place. You are with the right companion. Where you are in a group of people, although supposed to be in a Dharma, supposed for Dharma pilgrimage, and in fact, it was last year, yeah, in Bodh Gaya, that too in Vulture's Peak. Oh, it's a terrible experience. And it's a big blessing for me. So we all went there, and then we relatively huge group, I think about like 80 or some number of people. And Vulture's Peak is a very small space. We all At first, there was already a group there. We waited. And finally, they have a good understanding. So with the understanding, they understand that they're waiting, and they wind up there, prayers quickly, and then left. Then we took over. The moment we took over, another huge group came. group of monks, nuns, lay devotees, and some guides. And I don't know, baby. So there was a, and we were doing a practice. Wow, that's amazing. A real source of the source of practice, the practice of patience. There was one gentleman from that group, maybe a guide or maybe a part of that group, saying that you've been so selfish. Where's compassion? Watch us speak. Wow. So we are taking it as we Bodhisattva, wow. And this gentleman was shouting like this to us. Wow. So this is where, so although we are going for a pilgrimage, so if the environment is such that your say, the virtues go down, then this is not this is not the right thing to do. So say of course that is the trigger from outside. So meanwhile for us is how you take. If it is, wow, this is amazing. So this is the best of most virtuous place which we can think of as the most virtuous. Watch us speak, which the Buddha taught Heart Sutra to dismantle anger. And then there's a person testing our anger, testing our the success of practice. So if you can take it like this, it's amazing. And not only that, then if you can go beyond this, that wow, this person accumulates so much negative karma. Instead of anger, you feel compassion. This amazing, great opportunity for one to grow. Otherwise, the person says, "Where's compassion?" And you shout back, "Where's your compassion?" Right? What did you come here? Right? Come here for your anger, or come here for dharma? What? So then, the purpose of being in the dharma place is defeated. And the other person is wrong, you're also wrong. So this is, so now it's about the, but when you are with a particular area, say sometimes people, go for teachings and so forth. But someone said it recently, it's very meaningful. Oh, so now I stopped going in the public, huge gatherings, because you go there and finally there's nothing really happening within you. All the energy drained waiting queue to get to the place. The moment that you get there, you're already very tired. You're already very tired. And then you start dozing off. And then you hear people gossiping here and there. It's so unproductive. I would rather stay outside. And now it's such amazing opportunity where there's the online teachings happening. So I'd rather, focus fully on the teachings rather than having to wait in queue for hours and hours and so forth. Okay, so the point is that it says this is very important. The people, places where encountering with which the mental negativity subside, this is a good place. Giving up in hospital places, mental afflictions gradually decrease. With no distractions, because lack of distractions, then your virtuous activities naturally increase. When mind becomes clear, and because of which, what happens with the virtue and non-virtue, the difference is that with the virtue, mind becomes very clear. With non-virtue, the mind becomes murky and very like a clear water in turbulence, in waves, very ferocious waves, the clarity disappears. Clarity is there, but we don't see the clarity because of the disturbance. So likewise, our mind, when it's in disturbed state, the clarity disappears. So the clarity, when the negativity subside, the clarity dawns. With no distraction, virtuous activities naturally increase. When mind becomes clear, conviction, because of the clarity comes, then the conviction grow in the dharma. In the dharma is born. Therefore, seeking solitude is the practice of Bodhisattva. Seeking solitude doesn't mean that you have to go in solitude, that you should be alone all the time. No, there's not the connotation. The connotation is that the seeking solitude from the disturbing, non-conducive factors, non-conducive the situations. And then many people say that by coming into Dharma, then your earlier friends from the school days, from the college, from your young ages. So these friends, they tend to distance, and then you are left with no friend. So when this happens, many people feel that something's wrong with me. What I'm doing is maybe a little the little extreme. It's not extreme. Keep this in mind. When you're into dharma, people who are not in dharma, they will automatically go away from you. When that happens, this is a big blessing for you. Don't take that as that as indication of you becoming lonely or something wrong with you, or you are taking extreme into dharma. There's not. This is a very good indication. You are so lucky that these people are staying away from you when you go into dharma. Because when you go to dharma, these people continue to attach with you, your dharma will be disrupted. And then one day you will say that, okay, just to make them happy, today I'll go with them. So now you build a tendency to go with them while you are in dharma. So gradually, then you say 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, then you'll be direct fully. So therefore, if they run away from you, this is the best. You don't have to push them. They run away from you on their own. This is a big blessing for you. Instead of feeling sad, feeling lonely, you must feel it is a big compliment, the compliment to you by these people that you're doing in Dhamma well. And the Buddha taught that if possible, always go with good companions. If not, better it is to go alone. Go by yourself alone than to go with the bad companions. Don't forget it. So you may at times you may feel lonely. That so if you are really into dharma, then you will never feel bored. Sometimes, okay, it was little digression during the COVID time when with the total lockdown, and I was here in Tibet House, and here in the guest room, and my friend, one of my friends, his wife, they told him that, hey, you must go to the gift company to Geshe. Otherwise, he must be feeling so bored. All these days after days after days, he should be feeling so bored in the room by himself. And you must go to gift company to him. So he called me. Geshe, you must be feeling so bored. First he said, I'll come to see you. Just not to offend him, I said, okay, yeah, you can come. Then he said, Geshe, you must be feeling bored. What are you doing? I said, I have no time to feel bored, right? And if you're coming thinking that I'm bored, I'm not feeling bored, please don't come, right? In fact, for me, 24 hours is too less. I have no time to feel bored, right? And if you come, you're making me bored because you're wasting my time. And he said, and he's very honest. He said that, oh, no, no, no. My wife actually, they told me, she's very concerned about you. She said that, please go to give company to Geshe. Otherwise, he must be feeling so bored all these several months. He must be so bored. So I said, no, no, no. If this is the reason, don't come. You are making me bored by you coming to see me. You are making me bored because I have to sit like this and listen to you. Although I don't like to listen to you, I have many things to do. Always thinking about, oh, I have this thing to do, that thing to do, and I could not do. I have to wait. When will this mind go? So therefore, don't come. If you have some important things, then you can come. Otherwise, don't come for the sake of giving company to me. I don't need company. So this is what I'm saying. So at times, people, when they come into dharma, they feel a little lonely. They said that, oh, I have no friend. I don't know what was okay. But everything is dependent on originator. If you feel that you're lonely, then gradually build your joy in study, reflection, and meditation. Sometimes as I said earlier, my friend comes, I feel really, it's a waste of time. Provided he has nothing special to do or nothing important thing to do, I feel it's just waste of time. I feel that rather he leaves so that I can continue with my work. So this is when, if you feel lonely, which means that you have to somehow, you and me, all of us, we have to look out for ways and means to feel joy in study, reflection, and meditation. If you find the joy, then you have no time for loneliness. You will never feel lonely, and it's full of joy. It's like watching a movie. It's amazing. Okay, next. Therefore, seeking solitude. Solitude, meaning that where all the unnecessary things are cut, unnecessary meetings and so forth are cut, and then you being with yourself, with your studies, reflection, meditation, that's a practice of Bodhisattva. Next, now, how to contemplate on these. So these minutes contemplations are something very basic. We only need to contemplate more, think more on these points, and then our mind will start to find joy in being solitude. So one is that, say, the friends and relatives acquainted for long will separate. This is the reality. All composite things are impermanent. So as a part of this practice, friends and relatives acquainted for long will separate. So each of us, we have our own life experience. Say, for example, I can speak on my behalf, and you can speak on your behalf, that the people who you met, very close friends with you when you were a little boy, little girl, almost like 80% of them are gone from your life. 80% of them, if not 90%, 80% of them gone. Then very close friends and the people you acquainted with when you were in your college days. Now, by the time you reach age 40, 50, 80% of them are gone. They're gone in your life. They're gone. Some who you think that they will be with us. This is my friend, or this is whatever. Gone. 80% gone. So friends and relatives acquainted for long will separate. And then finally, we have to bid the farewell. So the loss, the demise of the person will happen. There's a reality. So therefore, these are the realities that we can think of, that we need to think of. Ordinary people, they don't think of these things. So when they are with the relatives, friends, and so forth, they fight. When they're gone, they cry. Why they're crying? They miss. Why are you missing? You miss to cry? Miss fighting? Right? When you're together, you don't hug, you fight. When they're gone, you cry. Crying for what? This is all the paradox of a life. This is where there's more paradox in the life, we are ordinary person. Where the paradox is less, we are evolved beings. So these are the realities. Friends and relatives acquainted, usually this is what I tell people. Because I lost my mom when I was just 5 years old, and lost my father when I was in my 30s. And I tell people, when you still have your parents, don't take it as a burden. Take it as a privilege. I don't have the privilege even to tell my mom, Mom, how are you? I don't have the privilege to even say this sentence. If you still have your dad, mom, don't take that as a burden. Take it as a privilege. For example, like two sisters, two brothers, brother, sister, and so forth. They are fighting. I've been always with my parents. He's not doing anything. She's not doing anything. No, take it as a privilege. It's your privilege that you are being with the parents. You get the opportunity to serve your parents. So take it as a privilege rather than taking it as the burden. So therefore, this is so important that we need to put in mind. But so this is one thing. Then in some case, there's obsession. This is pure attachment. Obsession, where you're together, your virtues grow. Your virtues grow, your parents' virtues grow, your husband's virtue grow, your wife's virtue grow, your children's virtue grow, your friends' virtues grow. Where you're together, your virtues decline. So cut off from the friends and the people, the acquaintance with which your virtues decline. How to cut? Think of them, friends and relatives acquainted for long. One day we'll have to separate. Possessions that I gained with exertion will be left behind at the time of death. And finally, my own mind, what I call as I, the self, imputed on the basis of this consciousness, my mind. If this consciousness like the guest in the guest house of this body, even this consciousness will leave this as a guest, will leave this guest house of the body one day. Consciousness, a guest, will leave the guest house of the body to let go of this life. This life, to let go. What I would say is that what the author actually intends is that to let go of the obsession to this life. It's a practice of Bodhisattva, because this life is very precious. Don't destroy this life, but to let go of the obsession to this life. Only think about this life. Say, the masters, Saji Konya was said that if you're attached to this life, you are not a Dharma practitioner. Attached to this life. It's not that this life is not precious. If you're attached to this life, you are not a spiritual practitioner. So to let go of the attachment to this life is a practice for Bodhisattva. This life is very precious. Use it for your growth, not use to say we eat to live and we live to eat. So let us not say be of this kind, living to eat. Just this life, for the obsession of this life without a greater goal, that is to be let go of. 5. When due to friendship with someone, the 3 poisons increase. Now, with the more precisely with the people, when due to friendship with some people, your 3 poisons, attachment, aversion, ignorance, increase. And meanwhile, degrading the activities of your study, listening, reflecting, and meditation, and destroys your loving kindness and compassion. For example, say, being with someone else, yes, it does happen. We should be very, very careful. Say, sectarianism, groupism, these are very dangerous, and particularly people who are infested with these thoughts of extreme, say, the groupism. Oh, we are from the same group, we're from the same religion, from the same caste, from the same this and so forth. Then they say a separation comes to mind, the division comes to mind, or they and I. This is poison. This is greatest of the poison. The greatest of the poison. In fact, say from a very small things like, so when I was in, say, one place, say IBD, Institute of Buddhist Dialectics, my teacher is amazing. He's a real Bodhisattva who really crossed, who really transcended the feeling of the division I and you. He transcended that. It's amazing. I never had these, feelings coming. Even the thought did not, they hit me once when I was there. And then they say over several years, then they say, I can see that these things happening. And if you, some people, they come closer to you with this sectarianism, and including you in the group, oh, be very careful. You will feel something unpleasant feelings coming. Stay away from these people. So these will actually inject poison in your mind. Poison in your mind. And this poison, you and I can be extremely, extremely poisonous in ways that, for example, like, so what kind of gender that you are born as, what kind of ethnicity, what kind of religion, what kind of, say, the place, environment you're born in. Next, nobody can tell you. So, for example, today, I'm a Tibetan. And then I may backbite the CCP or Chinese too much. I backbite. No, this is the worst of the, it's like they're like the dogs like this. If this is how I do, next time I may take birth as a CCP, right? As a son or a daughter of the Xi Jinping, right? Then I'll say, oh, we Tibetans, they are so barbaric, that's uncivilized. I may be the one to say like this in the next life, right? So this is so arbitrary. Why should we be so clinging so badly to, this is my group? And this division is actually, this division is not harming anybody, it's harming you. This is creating more pains in you. This is creating more seeds of anger within you. With anger, the consequences, severe pain and having to shed tears. This is and then the next life, you can be born in just the opposite party, which you have been constantly fighting against. For example, let's see what happened was that some of you know the story already. It was at the time of the Buddha that, and some say it was Arhat Shariputra, some say it was the Papa Tatul. I don't know what his name is in Sanskrit. Papa Tatul, Arhat Tatul. So when he was going for alms round and he passed by a family, and in the family, he saw that there was one young mother cuddling her newborn baby. And the dog was, and she was eating a fish. And the dog was expecting, well, nearby, expecting to get some fish from the lady. And she was beating the dog and eating the fish and cuddling the baby. And the Arhat, who was observing this scenario, he said that, in Tibetan, he said that, Pasha Sashing, Maladung. Shahala, you know Tibetan? You know that Shahala, right? Okay, so, Pasha Sashing, Maladung, Rangi Dao, Pondukul, Tete Kobe, Ngansula, Tena Kyowa Tinike. So, say the uncertainty of where you're going to born. Say, I'm a Tibetan today, and because of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, purely because of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, that I don't really have this aversion, anger, corrosive aversion towards CCP. Actually, not only CCP, Chinese in general, they are our enemies. No, it did not happen to me. I'm so lucky that I was born under influence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, whose influence has such impact in the minds of the Tibetan people that 90% of the Tibetan people, they don't feel that deep aversion, anger towards the CCP. They don't feel that. Of course, we know it's not that we're stupid. It's not that we don't know anything. We're too naive. We know what they did to our parents, what they did to our grandparents, what they did to our homeland. We know that. But anger was not there because of being influenced by the amazing leader, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So this Arhat, observing the scenario there, then he uttered one verse. You, referring to the lady, you are eating the flesh of your father, beating your mother, cuddling the deadliest enemy in your hand, in your arm. This is the nature of samsara. How tiring, how exhausting, how sad. Okay, so what happened was that this lady's father died and took birth as a fish, which now she's eating. This lady's mother died. She took birth as a dog, and who was just sitting next to her, expecting some fish from the lady. And the deadliest enemy, the next door neighbor, even for an inch of the space, they're fighting. Two of them are fighting. This is our land, this is our place, and this is fighting like a cat and dog. They're fighting like this. And that person died and took birth as the child of this lady. And now cuddling this child with so much warmth, the deadliest enemy in the form of her child, with so much warmth, and the one who gave you so much warmth, so much love and affection, the father who really fought so much so that you will get everything, and that you are eating the flesh of that person, the father. And the mother who loved you so much all these many years, and then you're beating this mother. So this uncertainty of where we going to take birth. So the point is that it's just a life. In a way, it is long, like 60, 70, 80, 90 years is long. But in a way, it's just flies, particularly when you hit the 30, 40s, then time flies. So what is life? So why not wise people will think of long term? They will not be engrossed with the short term, the say experience. And the unwise people will be engrossed with the short term experience. They don't see what is beyond. So we should be more wise, that we should be able to see beyond today, this life, and then on that basis, feel calm, and then help others also to feel calm, and eventually to see that we, each one of us, we should strive to become a Buddha, so that we have the capacity that when the karmas of the beings arrive, we have the capacity to really create a magic of peace in the whole territory, peace in everyone. You, other side, everyone. There's no you and others. Everyone becomes we. That you can create it if you become a Buddha. So this is what we need to aspire. And some of us may think that this is too, what is that? Idealistic. It's not idealistic. Will it happen? Will it happen in this life? Very likely not, but we never know. But most likely not. I would say most likely not. But can it happen over time? 100% yes, provided we put the correct effort. Okay, so with this mind, number 5, when due to friendship with someone, the 3 poisons increase, degrading the activities of listening, reflecting, meditating, and destroys loving kindness and compassion. To give up such a friendship is a practice of Bodhisattva. Whereas, on the contrary, when number 6, when relying on someone, your negativity is diminished. Say you are with somebody else. Say, for example, say when I meet with Israelis here in India, I was said, you must be connected with DFI, Dhamma Friends of Israel. You must be connected with Dhamma Friends of Israel, and you must meet with the people there. They are so good. There are some people who in the past had taken charge of the group, and now they are the new members who take charge of the group. You must meet all of them. They are so good, and your virtues will grow. Because I have confidence. I've met with my friends from long time, people who took charge of the DFI, and now who are taking charge of the DFI. I know each one of them. So I was telling the Israel's first thing that I asked them is that, do you know the Dhamma Friends of Israel? I asked them. If they said no, I say that you must meet them. You must meet them. The past, the former members and the current members. So there you be with them, your virtues will grow. Okay. When relying on someone, your negativities, your non-virtues diminish, your negativities diminish, and your positive qualities grow like a waxing moon. To cherish such a spiritual friend more than own body is the practice of Bodhisattva. Okay, now next, number 7, this is a very important point. Okay. Now, same, if you think of long term means go for the best. Try to create the best of situations. And for the best of the situation, we see that we need, for example, say, we're talking about the fearlessness and infinite happiness. And for example, let's say that we have Shahara there, and let's say that somebody wants to go to Israel, and one person heard about Israel, knows about Israel, but never been to Israel. And if I were to go to Israel, if say somebody were to go to Israel, and then I said, okay, you must try to connect with Shahala, right? He's from Israel, he knows the Israel so well. And then the person may tell me that, oh, Shahala, I know somebody, he knows about the Israel so well. My first question is that the person, did he go to Israel? Does he live there? If the answer is no, he never went to Israel, I would say this is not a good guide. The best would be Shahala or somebody like this, somebody from Israel, not somebody who never been there. And if the person unwise may prefer to seek the help of the other person rather than shahala. As a wise person, oh, I'm so glad, I'm so fortunate. I came to know about somebody who is actually there from Israel, who knows Israel inside out. So that is a wise person. So the guide should be someone who experienced nirvana and Buddhahood. So themselves, number 7, themselves captives in the prison of samsara, the worldly gods. Worldly gods, say the same, somebody who is being revered, respected as the local gods, goddess, and so forth. They themselves are in samsara, themselves captives in the prison of samsara. They've never experienced nirvana and Buddhahood. And you want to go to nirvana and Buddhahood, and you cannot really seek their help to take you to nirvana and Buddhahood. Themselves captives in the prison of samsara, whom can the worldly gods protect? How can they protect you to nirvana and Buddhahood? Therefore, to seek refuge, who can actually take you to nirvana and Buddhahood is someone who has actually been there. Who is that? The Buddha and his teachings, and then his sanghas or her sanghas. Therefore, to seek refuge in the three jewels, who do not betray you, is the practice of Bodhisattva. So some people, they say, let's say from India, somebody wants to go to Israel, and we say, "Hey, don't worry, I'll take you there. I know Israel so well." The person never have been to Israel, and the person takes you, takes you closer to Israel, and the person gets lost. And then, now take me, and even I don't know how to go further, right? So, and therefore, which means the person betrays you in between. It does happen in the business also, in the business world. Some people, they promise a lot. Yes, this can be done, that can be done. Actually, it happened to me recently, a few months ago. Oh, this can be done, that can be done. It gave me such a beautiful experience, and I thought that this is amazing. And finally, the product the person gave me was just terribly bad. And I gave up. I just wish that, okay, now you finish and then you leave. Right? So I cannot change it anymore. Okay, it's related to the renovation of the house. Okay, so in between, then I said, this is what I said, and then you said yes, and now it's not there, and then he's looking for excuses. In a way, he betrays me because he did not know actually what he promised. He didn't know. So therefore, but who can actually take you the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha? So that is so important. So therefore, it's so even for people who take the Buddhism very seriously, so I would highly suggest that the moment any problems happen to you, instead of think of the Dhamma protectors, instead of thinking of anything else, oh, this particular Dhamma protector, think of the triple gem. Then you are the Buddha's disciples. But when you are in a very serious problem, the first thing that comes to mind is some deities rather than the triple gem. That's very sad. Then being a Buddhist or not is questionable. We should be very carefully thought of. So it says that, therefore, to seek refuge in the true jewels, who do not betray you, is a practice of Bodhisattva. Number 8, the suffering of the lower realms. So difficult. Okay. So now it's the same. Now, how to follow the path? Follow the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, and the wisdom of emptiness. The 3 principal paths: renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom of emptiness. So now with the renunciation, renouncing the samsara to get to nirvana and Buddhahood. When you say renunciation, it doesn't mean to renounce your happiness. Many people have a very naive understanding. Oh, renunciation, from Buddhism, renunciation. And some people, they come to Buddhism, but they once the first time they come, they come very presentable. After coming to Buddhism, even the dress, they become very shabby, dirty, and they kitchen work, they have dirty hands, they use their clothes like this. This is Buddhism. This is not Buddhism. This is not Buddhism. Many people have very naive idea. This is not Buddhism. So the point is that this is not the point. So the renunciation, it is not to renounce your good things. It's to renounce your miseries. To renounce miseries, we need to know how to renounce the causes of the miseries. So it says, the suffering of the lower realms, so difficult to bear. Say in samsara, the Buddha taught the four seals. All composite things are impermanent, all contaminated things are suffering nature. When I say all contaminated things are suffering nature, this is what Bodhisattva, what the Bodhisattva Geshe Tome-san is teaching us here. It relates to the first two seals. All composite things impermanent and all contaminated things are suffering nature. The suffering of the lower realm, so difficult to bear, is what the Buddha taught to be the fruit of negative karmas. All contaminated things, meaning negative karmas, afflictions. So these will result us into the miseries. Is what the Buddha taught with the fruit of negative karmas, negative actions. Therefore, even at the cost of our life, never to commit negative actions, commit no evils, never to commit negative actions is the practice of Bodhisattva. So we need to remember these. So for how to remember these, there are so many points. Make sure that some of the salient texts, very comprehensive texts, for example, like the Foundation of All Good Qualities by Lama Tsongkhapa, which is so concise with only 14 verses, which identifies very important points which we need to remember every day. Then our mind becomes very rich, and say the tendency for us to fall into negativities will be much less, because we have been guarded by this knowledge, by these habituations in your daily practice. So it says, therefore, even the cost of your life, never to commit negative actions as a practice of Bodhisattva. Then the next is the first one. Verse number 7 is related to the how to renounce the suffering. Now, number 8 is how to renounce the suffering change, the contaminated happiness, how we are not to be glued to the contaminated happiness. Doesn't mean that we have to quit your good food, good house, good cars. No, there's not a condition. Attachment to these to be quit. Attachment to these things to be quit. Okay, number 9. Happiness in the three realms, like a dew on a blade of grass, is subject to instantaneous fading away. So each one of us, we have own life experiences, we have joys, we have sadness, and the joys, the happiness that we consider as happiness, just think of these. If possible, you can just make notes. They say, note down what kind of happiness you're experiencing in life and how instantaneous they are, how, say, the momentary they are. They're all gone. They're all just the memories. Nothing's left there. For example, with the virtues, compassion, wisdom, that you did in the past, they leave some imprint in us. And these imprints will help us to activate them more quickly. But the joys that we experience, the happiness that we experienced in the past, imprints left, and these imprints will make us to have the joys more quickly. No. Joys are the resultant states. The resultant states of the joys will only leave the imprint to feel attached to them, rather than the joys triggering again. Joys will not be triggered again. For the joys, again, the contaminated virtues should be done, without which the joys will not activate again automatically. So these are different, these are nuances that we need to remember. Happiness in the three realms, like dew on a blade of grass, is subject to instantaneous fading away. To strive for the supreme state, now thinking of these joys, happiness, these are all contaminated happiness. There's uncontaminated happiness which will never leave you. Once you attain them, they forever keep growing all the time rather than disappearing. To strive for the supreme state of liberation, which is uncontaminated happiness. To strive for the supreme state of liberation, then that never wavers from its experience of joy, experience of peace. This is the practice of the Bodhisattva. Number 10, next is Bodhicitta. The practice of Bodhicitta. From beginningless time, your mothers have cherished you. If they suffer now, what good is your own happiness? Therefore, in order to liberate the infinite number of the sentient beings, cultivating bodhicitta is practice of Bodhisattva. Okay, finally, so here the Bodhicitta is taught, and how cherishing others is taught. And then the first thing that we need to remember is that don't think that I have to cherish other beings, I have to show compassion towards other beings because it becomes a part of Dharma practice. No, don't do like this. Whatever you do with joy. Whatever you do with joy. For example, like, why should I have to practice compassion so that others will be benefit? No, don't think like this. Don't start with this. Start with where you are now. If you are in the same, if you are in number, if you are in grade 0, start from 0. Don't start from number 5, 0 to 10. If you're on the grade advanced, your spiritual development, your the say the maturation level, if it is 0, start from 0. No compassion, no wisdom. Start from there. Don't think that, oh, others, they're talking about compassion, they're talking about bodhicitta and so forth. And I feel so bad of me. Don't worry. They start from 5. Let them start from 5. But you have to identify where you are. What is your level? Your level 0, 1, 2, whatever level that you've identified, start from there. So the point is that except for few people, except for 10 out of 1 million people, Barbara says that we are all born crying. We are born crying. When we cry, how do we cry? Is it because that, oh, the other babies, please feed the other baby must be feeling hungry, cold, and you cry? Or I'm feeling cold, I'm hungry, or somebody slapped me, right? So I feel the pain. How do you cry? It's all out of somebody slapped me. I'm feeling cold. So this is how we cry, selfishness. So this is where we are. We have to start from there. No need to compare yourself with other people. Start. You have to identify where you are, then start from there. That is very safe, and you will surely progress. If you see, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, already at a very high level, oh, so they look at His Holiness, what His Holiness is doing, think of the whole world. I am too selfish, I can't think like this. Then you start thinking like this, you will just instantly break down. His Holiness already practiced for the last innumerable lifetimes. So don't compare yourself with other people. Start where you are. So with this, say that first is, what do you want? I want happiness. I don't want stuff. Start from there. Don't think about others, happiness, others. Start from there. Then gradually, as you grow, then you will realize that the best way by which to give the maximum happiness to yourself is by giving the maximum happiness to others. And don't listen to this like stories. You must learn this first. You don't have to believe in it. Learn this first and gradually see the efficacy of that. And when you are convinced that, wow, this is amazing, being kind, being nice towards to other people, this is the best way by which to give yourself the peace of mind. Best way by which you to be happy, where your stress will go away. This is amazing. This is amazing. So this is how we have to proceed. So with this in mind, say the bodhicitta, the practice of bodhicitta, they initially think of, say, these 2 methods, try to be convinced of these 2 methods, that these two methods are so suitable to me. This is so relevant, so suitable to me from the level that I am in now, right now. That I want happiness. For that purpose, I don't want suffering, so therefore I should not harm others. I want the maximum happiness, so therefore I should help others. And best way to help others is the bodhicitta. So I must generate bodhicitta for my own benefit. What really destroys me, peace of mind, my mind, peace of mind, is selfishness. That's very true. If you get a glimpse that my selfishness subsides, your mind eases. That's amazing. This is what you have to experiment. We have to experiment it. Where your selfishness subsides, your mind eases. How the selfishness subsides? You think of others. Just experiment it. Think for others, the selfish subsides. Earlier fear and the stress or the distressed, the mental state will subside. You feel the calmness. This is amazing. So for that, we have to practice. If you want to feel this ease in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the chaotic stress and the anxiety situation, if you want to feel the ease and the tranquility, practice bodhicitta. So, how to practice bodhicitta? There are two methods: the method of equalizing exchange of one's fathers, and the sevenfold cause and effect method for general bodhicitta. There's two methods that there, and verse number 10 is about the sevenfold cause and effect method of general bodhicitta, and the next is the method of equalizing exchanges for others to general bodhicitta. Okay, number 10. The key to the sevenfold cause and effect, the method to general bodhicitta, is that they say, I must work for the benefit of sentient beings. How best to help them is by becoming Buddha. So, why should I work for others? Because that they are my mothers. When they are mothers in the former lifetimes, and while they're being mothers, generally speaking, of the 100 mothers, I would say that minimum 80 or 90% of the mothers, they have given the best to their children. Maybe few mothers, particularly when the child is very young, from age 1 through to age 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and the mothers have given their best. But there could be some exceptions who the mothers during their own childhood, they suffered so much of trauma and so forth. They do not know how to give love and affection towards others. So that could be exception. Otherwise, like 90% of the mothers, they have given the maximum to the children. So when you think of these scenarios where you are so vulnerable and somebody is there to see you as the gem in the world, that is the person who I must repay the kindness. So this is how if you build this feeling that when I'm vulnerable, this is a person who serves as my mother and protected me from every front. When you see that, then your love towards the other being, the other person, keeps increasing. Affection towards the other person keeps increasing. And you extend it to all the beings. Then your love and affection extends to all the beings. It expands. It keeps increasing. It keeps expanding towards all the beings. So with this, then what should I do to help them? Become Buddha so that you can benefit all the beings very effectively. So this is the main core of the Buddhist practice related to sevenfold cause and effect. Number 10, from beginningless time, your mothers, all the sentient beings as your mothers have cherished you. If they cherish you, meaning that I benefited from them. When you say I benefited from them, then your mind flows towards the benefit. This is the affection. Your affection builds up. If they suffer now, what good is your own happiness? Therefore, in order to liberate the infinite number of sentient beings, what should I do? Cultivate bodhicitta. Cultivate the desire to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Cultivating bodhicitta, this practice for Bodhisattva. Number 11. All suffering comes from yearning. Okay, now the method of equalizing and exchanging self for others. So here, what is said is that they finally, what I don't want is suffering. What I want is happiness. And suffering, when I track the cause of the suffering is the selfishness. The cause of happiness is the other cherishing. So one must be very convinced of this. For example, like say when you feel like, say some people who are already generous, when you feel like when you help somebody wholeheartedly, when you help somebody, just give yourself a little time and contemplate. Yes, observe your mind. What's the mental state like? You see that your mind is very calm. You have a sense of fulfillment. I've done something. It's very rewarding. The feeling is very pleasant. You do something harm to other people, it's all coming out of the selfishness. And what's the result? Mental disturbance happens. So you connect that the selfishness is related to mental disturbance. The mental ease, calmness, tranquility is related to the other cherishing. So this we have to experiment it as many times as possible. The core of the second method of equalizing exchanges for others, is the core message is to see the demerit of self-cherishing as much as possible, to see the merit of cherishing others as much as possible. This is the core of your practice, of our practice. So when you reach to the point that 100% selfishness, it has no work other than to destroy me. It can come in the facade of my friend. It can come on the facade of best of my friends. But I now realize that this selfishness, this is the root of my destruction. This is the root of my failure. It does only one thing, to destroy me, sometimes smiling, sometimes as the main guard, but as the protector, but actually not protector, coming the facade of being protector, actually destroying me. If you're very convinced of this, then how to get away from this enemy? Go for that counterforce. What's the counterforce? Cherish others. The more you cherish others, more this enemy of you, or which destroys me, will be undermined. And then your joy multiplies. This beautiful practice. Okay. So all your sufferings, which are nothing but driven, pulled, dragged towards you by the self-centered attitude. All the happiness, they are related to the other cherishing. Number 11, all suffering comes from yearning for your own happiness. The perfect Buddhas are born from the intention to benefit others. Buddha, that you become a perfect being, they experience the fearlessness, infinite happiness is because of the cherishing others. Therefore, to truly exchange yourself, your own happiness for the suffering of others is the practice of Bodhisattva. The moment you cherish, you give happiness to others, your other cherishing increases. Your selfishness decreases. Selfishness decreases, your miseries decrease. Other cherishing increases, your happiness increases. Therefore, to truly exchange your own happiness for the suffering of others is the practice of a Bodhisattva. Even if, okay, now, I say the practice of bodhicitta, we see that there are two things. To practice bodhicitta, there are two things that it is like cultivating the farmland. For this, one, to remove the weeds, and number two, to create the conducive factors like the manure, sunlight, water, healthy seeds. Two things: remove the non-conducive factors and increase the conducive factors. Likewise, to cultivate this bodhicitta, the farm, the land of the bodhicitta, we need to remove the non-conducive factors like ego, anger, and the stress and so forth, and increase the conducive factors like compassion and so forth, by reflecting on the merits of cherishing others, by reflecting on the good things about the bodhicitta. So now these are the reinforcing factors. 12. Okay, 12. Even if somebody driven by excessive desire steals all your wealth, so when will your anger arise? When does anger arise within you? When ego arises within you? When you become so stressful. So identify these situations. For example, like here, even if someone driven by excessive desire, excessive desire steals all your wealth or incites someone else to steal it, then you really feel so angry towards that person. So the anger, this situation of the anger rising. To dedicate to this person your body, possession, and all your virtues, or 3 times is a practice of Bodhisattva. So a question arises: why should we dedicate your possession, everything, to this person who is so harmful to you? So because that they say the final benchmark is that they say, I want the maximum happiness. I don't want the miseries. I want the wealth. I don't want the poverty. Wealth is the result. Wealth is a result of generosity, giving. And somebody steals my wealth. This is the poverty. The person is creating poverty in me. And this poverty is a result of stinginess. So I should get into stinginess, and I should create the factors to enrich my wealth in the future. So wealth is a result of generosity. So now, instead of feeling angry. Angry only destroys more of your virtues. On top of the loss of your wealth, you also lose your virtues because of anger. You lose two things, loss. Whereas you lose the wealth, superficially you lose wealth, but mentally you say, wow, now I understand the meaning of the demerit of the stinginess. The stinginess makes me to lose my wealth. I learn. So instead of losing, I gain the conviction. I gain this knowledge. I gain this experiential knowledge that the stinginess is the cause of my losing the wealth. And if I want the wealth next time, I engage in the virtues, virtue of generosity. So I gained more rather than superficially I lost something, but in reality, I gained. I gained in the opportunity to generosity under such a situation. To give something to a nice person is easy. To give something to a neutral person is okay. But to give something to a unnice person, the selfishness will say no. So the selfishness is acting. You're not acting. Selfishness is acting. So you have to act against the selfishness to say that, no, now you are again coming in the facade of guarding me. You're not guarding me. Now you have nothing to do. I am engaging in the act of generosity. This most difficult they say the situation where you practice generosity. When you do that, your selfishness is crushed is most effectively. Selfishness is the one destroys. Losing wealth is not what destroys you. Your selfishness destroys us. So in a way, this practice is actually destroying our selfishness. It is not destroying ourself. Superficially, it seems as though like you're losing something. In reality, you gain rather than lose. So wise people will say that I gained a lot. I gained the opportunity to see the selfishness as again coming the facade of guarding me, giving me the impression that why should I be generous to the person who is so unnice to me? So this actually, the selfishness acting, this selfishness is the one which actually makes the wealth to disappear. Selfishness makes me stingy. Stinginess makes me to lose the wealth. So this selfishness, again, it helps me identify the selfishness as my enemy. So here, instead of losing, I gain a lot. You feel so much joy. When there's a joy there, you feel like engaged in this practice rigorously. So not that, okay, I have to, so Bodhisattva Geshe Thomas Sambo said that you lose something, you still give the person who steals away, okay, I don't want to do it, but I have to do it because he said it. There's no joy there. If you don't have joy, then the Dharma practice becomes so superficial. And at times it can actually be it can be counterproductive. So whereas you see this cognitively you unfold the wisdom, then you start to feel the joy. When you feel the joy, then there's so much ease in the practice of the generosity. Okay, let me read this once more, then we'll stop here today. Even if someone driven by excessive desire steals all your wealth or incites someone else to steal it, to dedicate to this person your body, possession, and all of your virtues of the 3 times is a practice of Bodhisattva. Okay, we stop here. And we'll do the end direction prayer. David La.
Yes, thank you so much, Geshe, for today's teachings. Really looking forward to continuing tomorrow. And everybody, let's recite together the end dedication prayers. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appeared in the 3 times so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Jangchu Tsem Chokren Puche Ma Ke Panam Kye Gurchik Ke Panyam Pame Payam Gong Ne Gong Du Washo. May the Supreme Bodhicitta that has not a reason arise and grow, and may that which has a reason not diminish but increase forevermore. By the dependent realization of profound suchness of appearance and emptiness, together with the force of great compassion of the three jewels and the power of the truth, and the virtue of infallible law of karmas and their fruits, may this truthful prayer of ours be unhindered and quickly fulfilled. May the teachings of the Beneficent One till world's end be unshaken by the winds of the evil thoughts, and may it always be met by innumerable beings who find conviction in the teacher by understanding the teaching's true nature. May I never falter even for an instant to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination through all my births, even giving away my body and life. May I spend day and night carefully reflecting by what means can I enhance this teaching achieved by the Supreme Savior through strenuous effort over countless eons. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by Arya Manjushri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teaching of dependent origination in particular, even at the cost of my life. In all my lives never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stages and the path. May I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Let's recite 3 times the Heart Sutra mantra. Teata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Geshe. See you tomorrow morning.
Okay, David Love, let me just make a quick announcement.
Of course.
That we all know that His Holiness is going to go for a knee surgery very soon. Knee surgery. His Holiness is leaving for America for knee surgery treatment. Knee surgery treatment. For which Tibet House we are organizing 2-day prayer meet for the success of the knee surgery of His Holiness, and 21st and 22nd of June, by taking the Bodhisattva vow, and then doing the Medicine Buddha practice on 21st and 22nd, again Bodhisattva vow, and the Aryatara practice. So these are the 2 things which we're going to do. And the David Law, if you can, organize something like this from the DFI group together with Tibet House, that would be wonderful. So today we'll recite the Medicine Buddha mantra 21 times together. Just if you know what the Medicine Buddha is like, you visualize the Medicine Buddha on top of your crown. And as you recite this, visualize that from Medicine Buddha's the forehead, throat, and the heart, nectar's descent, and that the nectar's descent and all the virtues, our virtues just spread, where His Holiness' surgery, it becomes successful, because that we are the ones who are directly being benefited from His Holiness' presence on the planet Earth. So therefore, if we accumulate merit, then where we create the water body, then the reflection moon automatically comes. So if we create the merit, which is like creating the water body, then His Holiness' presence, vibrancy will be seen. And then where our merit, we don't accumulate merit, then the water dries up. When the water dries up, the reflection, the mirror, the reflection moon will disappear. So reflection moon, it is not really dependent on the moon. Moon is always there, but depend more on the water, our own karma. So we have to accumulate karma so that His Holiness' presence And His Holiness says the benefit that we get out of His Holiness will continue to be as vibrant as before. So with this in mind, we'll recite this mantra and pray to Buddha Shakyamuni. If you don't know what the medicine Buddha looks like, then think of Buddha Shakyamuni on your crown and imagine that nectars and virtues, your own virtues, all virtues, all sentient beings, they make His Holiness's treatment successful. Okay. Teata om begaze ma begaze ranza samunga de swaha teata. Okay, but for information, so here it says teata om beshaje maha beshaje there are two twice beshaje twice, but we can say it once because that I see that in many of the origin sources there's only one. In the first case, two are two there. After Maha, then only once Beshaje is only once said in many of the standard the sources. So we say it once. And I also heard His Holiness saying it only once. So we'll say it only once. This needs to be the edited. Teata om begaze ma begaze ranza samunga de swaha teata om begaze ma begaze ranza samunga de swaha teata om begaze maha begaze ranza samunga de swaha teata om begaze maha begaze ranza samunga de swaha teata om begaze maha begaze ranza samunga de swaha Teata om begaze maha begaze ranza samunga de soha teata om begaze maha begaze ranza samunga de teata om begaze maha begaze ranza samunga de soha teata om begaze maha begaze ranza samunga de soha teata om begaze maha begaze ranza samunga de soha teata om begaze Mahabegaze Ranza Samunga de Soha, Teata Om Begaze Mahabegaze Ranza Samunga de Teata Om Begaze Mahabegaze Ranza Samunga de Soha, Teata Om Begaze Mahabegaze Ranza Samunga de Teata Om Begaze Mahabegaze Ranza Samunga de Soha, Teata Om Begaze Mahabegaze Ranza Samunga de Teata om begaze maha begaze raza samunga de soha teata om begaze maha begaze raza samunga de soha teata om begaze maha begaze raza samunga de soha teata om begaze maha begaze raza samunga de soha. Okay, thank you. See you tomorrow. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Three prostrations together.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Geshila. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gisela. Thank you, everybody.